website, identity services, eBay.
Hello from email.
John or Mark from eBags.
Steve Brownfighter, Senior IT Architect for that. Actually, and for those of you who are introducing yourselves, if you want to say a few words about what you'd like to get out of today, that'd be helpful.
We're gonna make it as uncomfortable for you as
You don't have to, but if you want to.
Andrew Nash, Senior Director of Identity Services, PayPal, and I want my parking space back.
Brian Thistle from the OpenID Foundation, and my role is, as I stated before, really love to hear from those of you who are looking to deploy this and how this ecosystem can evolve to benefit you and your customers.
Ron House. I'm now global head of social media for Bloomberg. I was head of social media for Sears, and I'm just excited to be here. I'm interested to see what's going to be coming out of this session, whether this is going to win.
Good day, I'm Patrick Harding from King Identity. Hope you can learn a bit more about what retailers are looking for from OpenID.
Hi, I'm Mike Jones from Microsoft. I'm on the OpenID board, and I'm also one of the people working on updated specifications for new use cases that I'll be talking with you about.
My name's Eric Sachs. I work at Google and some of Mike and our team work on some of the same standards and looking to see what other standards we need to evolve for the operators here.
I'm Pamela Nagel. I also work at King Identity, and I'm on the OpenID board with these competitors here, among others in the room. I'm really just here to listen to people that perhaps aren't as loud as some of the usual suspects in this space. So I'm really looking forward to quiet opinions that might change the way I think.
Hi, I'm Yulia Romanova. I'm product manager at Big Brown, working with Ashish on identity. And I'm looking forward to hearing needs in retail space.
Hi, John Phillips. I'm from product manager from Boku, a mobile payments company. So we're just kind of here to learn how OpenID might be able to benefit us in the mobile payment space and how we might work with retailers on that.
Matthew Arnold, also from Boku, seeing how the convergence of payments, social media, and all this is coming together.
Naveen Agrawal from Yahoo, and basically will answer any questions that you may have integrating with Yahoo. And we actually recently started accepting Google Identity and Facebook as well, which was a big step. And we went through like almost a year worth of preparation and other things and so on. And definitely, if you want to, we can talk about this with the chat integration. We still are facing how we are working.
Carter Trout. I'm leading a startup in social media marketing, and we help retailers target influential users and give them incentives to tell their friends. So I'm looking forward to just learning more about it.
Hi, I'm Mike Repass. I'm a platform PM from LinkedIn. Just here to share our experience trying to drive identity consumption of our professional profiles on the web.
I'm Vidya Shivkumar from Janray, here to share some consumer perceptions and learn more use cases from retailers.
I am Abhishek Amisha from PayPal. I'm here to just gain more understanding about identity as well as how it plays a role in the retail space.
I am Ankush. I'm a product manager working closely with Ashish on the identity at PayPal. And I'm here to know a lot of people, all these people who are in this key players in the industry, and also to know what retail is looking for out of this identity. Thank you.
Hi, Sam Sukushevin from Safeway. Basically, here to understand how OpenID can help e-commerce Safeway.
So for the from safety, all of these things are actually big issues on the safety side, like lowering the barrier of entry, and also federated sign-in between different sites. All of these are like really, really hot issues in safety. And that's why I want to get advice on all of this.
Jason Lim with Safeway as well, and kind of thanks for
core team, and we're trying to learn and get into the space of the e-commerce and whatnot. But that's kind of like our trends and whatnot. A lot of brick and mortars are going into the e-commerce and trying to go more delivery, that type of stuff. I think with Safeway, it's a little bit of interesting dynamic of trying to drive shoppers to the stores because we do have a lot of brick and mortars. How do we get that conversion rate of online into the physical store?
Vaishali Thakur from Safeway. Hi, I'm Amelia Lee from Zazzle. I'm here to understand what this online do for online retail such as ourselves and see what everyone else is doing on with this.
I'm Jim Nguyen with Ruby Coins. We provide in-app payments for mobile desktops, so we actually reduce friction for the payment process, and we're going to go ahead and reduce the friction in the front end.
Hi, my name is Gilbert. So I'm from Let's Talk, marketing manager. Just trying to hold the space and see how this is benefit for my company.
Hi, I'm Ashley Gustafson. I'm from Let's Talk.com as well. I work in user experience and I'm also social media manager for the company. And along with Gilbert, we're just trying to see how OpenID could really benefit us by using anything like that.
Hi, I'm Amy Reeves from Data. Trying to get feedback on what retailers think about OpenID. Talk about a few use cases of what can be done in this space.
Gary Rush, the Vice President of Technology at Angie's List, and we're here to update our knowledge and share some of our thoughts as a potential user of OpenID.
Hi everyone, Mike Lapis, PayPal, Relationship Manager, Digital Goods. I'm here to learn a lot about OpenID, and I have a lot of work experience here.
Hi, my name is Adrienne Parker, and I'm principal of Motiva Marketing for a creative and strategic marketing services agency. And I'm here to learn whatever I can about trends and technology so that I can better serve our clients.
Miles Gates, Innovation Manager for PayPal in Europe. I'm here to get the North American and retail perspective on
Thanks, everyone. Ashish Jian, I'm a product manager with PayPal, so I'm going to give you a quick update of what we have been working upon. I'll start with a demo. That wasn't part of the plan. So we have been experimenting with OpenID for a year, if not more, and we started by setting up an OpenID provider outside of PayPal with the help of the January team. But we got enough interest from the merchants that we decided to bring the OpenID capabilities in-house within PayPal. So I'm going to show you the demo where the OpenID infrastructure is hosted within the PayPal systems. And I think this is the first time I'm ever showing this in public because we launched only like a week or so ago. So the experience would be nothing earth-shattering of what you have seen from other providers, but I think it's still a big deal for PayPal.com to become an OpenID provider. So you come to a site and then you would see something like login with PayPal. And then you get to see the PayPal login page. So historically, you have seen that we always do a complete redirect. So that's the first time you actually would see a mini browser so that you can enter your credentials within PayPal, which is some of the things that we heard from merchants that they don't want to lose the context when they do authentication with a third party. So you log in with PayPal and then you are in. There's also a consent screen where we show the attributes that we are sharing. And as a user, you get to remember that. So in that case, we don't get to see it, but that's the way now I'm logged into the site.
So, Ashish,
yes,
that site's just treating PayPal as a regular OpenID provider at that point?
That's the answer, yes. So there is nothing.
No payment, nothing.
So I'll come to that. The answer is no at this time, but I'll come to that of where we are going with this. So what we have today from the specs perspective is that, excuse me, we have OpenID authentication tool, we have SH, we implement attribute exchange, we implement PAPE and the UI extension. The only additional thing that we have is we maintain a whitelist. So if you want to connect with Google or Yahoo, you know their endpoints, you can simply connect to it. In case of PayPal, you have to give us your endpoint and then we have to enable it. But other than that, it is the standard OpenID 2.0 protocol. In case of the shared claims, this is the set of claims that we are currently sharing. So we share your name, your email address, your date of birth, your phone number, and your shipping address. And the screen that I didn't show you in the demo, that's the place where a user gets to consent of what they want to share. We also share a pair ID. So if any one of you have done the payment integration with PayPal or have used the PayPal merchant APIs, you would know why you would need a pair ID. And then we also share a field, a flag, which is called as verified PayPal. So if you are a PayPal consumer and you have attached a financial instrument to your PayPal account, that means you're considered a verified PayPal user. And we share that flag with the line parties. And the benefit behind that is that it gives you a level of assurance about your users that this is a real user who has gone through some kind of an ID proofing in the past. We had an interesting challenge in front of us from a session management perspective. So if you look at Google, Yahoo, or Facebook, and especially Facebook, it's okay to leave the session open for them for a long time because the context is very different. They want users to be engaged to their site for a long period of time, and hence they are completely okay keeping the session on all the time. In case of PayPal, our requirements are completely different. We want you to log in, make the payment, and then get out. So on one side, we wanted to maintain our session as minimal as possible. At the same time, when we talk to the relying parties, they wanted to reduce the friction of onboarding, and they did not want users to be challenged every time when they do login with PayPal. So what we ended up doing is that we decoupled the PayPal.com session with the OpenID provider session. So what that means is that if you authenticate through PayPal OpenID provider, you will not have access to your account profile at paypal.com. Having said that, a relying party is still able to request both at runtime or at the onboarding time the max authage, either through PAPE or just telling us, and then we will honor it up to 8 hours. So if a user logs in through PayPal to any of the relying parties, given the preference, he will not be challenged again by PayPal for the next 8 hours. But he will still not have access to paypal.com. So like I mentioned, we do have an onboarding process. So it used to be fairly overwhelming, and now we have reduced that to 3 steps. So you need to have a PayPal account. You need to log into x.com, which is our developer network, and you need to submit your application. The screenshots look something like this. I don't know if you can see at the back. So you come to x.com, you log into your PayPal account, and then you enter your OpenID Realm URL and the attributes that you like to receive, and then we enable that. So I think where do we go from here? And that's the question that Patrick was asking earlier. So we have a lot of data on consumers. Not all of that can be shared, but we still have a lot of data. So we have the user attributes that the other sites normally have. We also keep track of, for instance, how many payments do you make through PayPal in the past 1 year. We also keep track of how much money as a user you have moved through PayPal. We also keep track of if you ship to an address, how many times you have shipped to the same address and you have not disputed. So things like that are something that we think may be potentially useful for relying parties to determine the authenticity of the user and decide on a few other factors. And the same thing goes for authent context. And I didn't know it till a few weeks back that if you go to paypal.com, you can log in through standard username and password, and we have the device fingerprinting and the OTP and the SMS. But on top of that, we also have biopasswords of how you type your password. We also have security key. We also have KBA. We also have security cushions. We also have voice authentication. And all of them gets triggered based on certain risk rules that we have implemented. Now, I have never been subjected to any of those authentication means, but they're all there, which means that at runtime, we are able to capture that, all the authent context, the authent event, the authent type, the authent, or I guess all the other details, which again can be helpful. So when Andrew mentioned earlier in his slide deck that there are information about risk and fraud, which we can share at the login time, which for retailers can be helpful to provide a better checkout or just a better experience around the site, we do have that information available. So payment integration, I think it's the next logical step, that if you log into a site using PayPal, you should be able to check out through PayPal without having to be challenged again. As it turns out, not only do we have multiple set of APIs for payment, we also have multiple set of checkout flows. So do you log in first? Do you pay first? Do you do guest checkout? What kind of time a merchant would allow the user to make an account with the merchant? So given all that, like I said, there are a variety of flows, and in general, from what we talk to merchants, they're very sensitive about the checkout experience of the user, even more so than the sign-up experience for the user. So we have put together a certain set of flows how we think the checkout and identity should integrate. But at the same time, if any retailers or merchants have any feedback that they would like to work with us, I think that would be excellent. So questions for providers. So given that we have done the infrastructure work to set up the PayPal OpenID provider, it brings up a set of other combinations that are now possible. So an example is that now PayPal is an OpenID provider. For instance, Google Apps is a SAML RP. And I know companies like Ping, they have the OpenID connector, which can connect the two dots. So technically, you should be able to use the PayPal OpenID response, use the OpenID connector, issue a SAML assertion, and then log into Google Apps. So technically, right now, you should be able to log into Google Apps, Salesforce, and all the other SaaS applications using your PayPal identity. And I think with that, we bring all the authentication things that I talked about earlier. Identity linking, which is an interesting concept, all the providers today allow you to link your other identities to your local account. So I know Google launched a few weeks back a Google profile where you can attach your Facebook or Twitter identity. So what that means is that if you also attach your PayPal identity to any of those providers, you get to take and receive the claims that PayPal now provides, at least the static claims. So a user can log into a site using Facebook or Google, but if he has attached a PayPal identity with that account, he should be able to take claims like his verified PayPal and PayID with it. So at least from that perspective, we all become also the provider, but we also become the claims provider. And then any one of us can then become the claims broker of what the user decides to use at a third-party site. And the linking can then go both ways. Just like you can attach your PayPal identity to your Google and Facebook account, you can also attach your Google and Facebook identity to your PayPal account, which means that if a user goes to a site or a shopping site and log in using Google or Facebook, and then he clicks on PayPal to check out, we are able to determine that this user has a PayPal account, which is linked to this Google account, and then provide a different and a more streamlined checkout experience. So by any means, this is not a commitment to a product from us, but this is definitely the discussions that we've been having internally. So questions for community. So this is kind of a pain point list that I know we've been working on this third-party authentication for a long time, but I still believe that there are tons of open questions that we haven't answered. When a user shows up at a relying party, if he has a new account or an existing account, what should be the experience? If a relying party needs to have additional data that the IDP is not supporting, how should they ask for it? Should they ask the user to create a local password, even if it's coming from a third-party entity or not? At what point of time should the relying party ask for terms of service? Should there be a CSR fact? So, I'm going to pick on Sears a little bit because you mentioned that earlier. So in the old days, and this is, somebody can correct me, but in the old days, if you try to log into Sears and you can't log in, you call the CSR and say, I can't log in, this is the email address I'm trying to use, reset my password. So now Sears accepts third-party authentication. Yahoo mentioned that they recently launched that you can log into Yahoo using Google, and you can make a Google account through an AOL email address. So in theory, I should be able to log into Sears, click on Yahoo, authenticate through Google, and use my AOL email address, right? And if I can't log in, I'm going to call the CSR and say, hey, I can't log into Sears I'm trying to use my AOL email address, I forgot my Google password, and my Yahoo IDP is not working. Can you help me with that? Right? So I think.
At which point they would blow up.
So I think at this point they start by saying, restart your computer, or
No, they'll just hang up on you.
right, or let me start over, is the power light on in your computer, right? So I think questions like that are bound to happen. The more and more we try to do the concept of linking, and how all the providers become their line parties, and all the RPs become the IDPs, and the CSRs are definitely not equipped to answer questions like that. The multiple IDP support, which is, for instance, if you log into a line party one time through Google and the second time through Yahoo, and they both have different email address. As a line party, which one should you store? Should you store both? Should you store the last one that the user used, or the most recent, or the one that most times the user used? When you want to send an email out to your users, which one should you use? So I don't think the questions like that have been answered, and I think maybe the moment we get more adoption and more collaboration, both from the retailers and RPs and providers, we may actually have a set of guidelines that will be helpful for the industry. So attribute exchange is the other one. We were trying to exchange some proprietary data, and we realized there is not really a good way to share it. SRED is too limited. AX doesn't really allow for proprietary claims. So we ended up extending AX for our claims, but at the same time, the richer data set we get to share between IDPs and RPs and for claims broker, there's definitely a need from a specs perspective to define how data sharing can happen. And I'm not going to touch logout because we don't have enough time in this room, but I think it's a topic which comes up in every meeting for the past 4 years, and we decide, say, we're going to come back to it. So we're going to come back to it. I think that's it. So I think we have done a lot of work at PayPal. I think we are very excited to be here, but at the same time, we also believe that there is a lot of work which still needs to be done. Questions?
Do customers